You're listening to the International Moving Podcast, your guide to moving to another country, brought to you by SDC International Shipping, LA's finest. An international move is exciting. It's a time to start over, establish a new business maybe, reestablish family ties, or retire where your budget will do more for you. Please enjoy today's episode, and if you have any questions about your international move, give us a call at 888-779-3962. That's 888-779-3962. Hey everyone, this is Jim for SDC International Shipping. Thanks for joining me for today's podcast episode. You're listening to the podcast where we talk about moving and relocating to different countries. We look at the specific countries and the advantages that they offer, whether you're an expat, you're retiring, or you're a younger person and you're looking to experience more of what's out there in the world, or you're somewhere in between and maybe you're considering moving out of the country for several years or so. You're raising a family. It could be anything and anything in between. So I know there are people who have in recent years moved from California to Puerto Rico. It was identified as a very enticing relocation trend at one point because it not only offers a change of scenery, but there are numerous tax advantages along with a lower cost of living there. So I thought this would be a good place to look at for today's episode. And if you do decide to pull the trigger on this kind of move, I just want to let you know that SDC International Shipping is here. We have the experience and the know-how to make your relocation free from unnecessary stress and anxiety. All right, let's jump into this. Let's take a look at the benefits of moving, let's say from a place like California to a Puerto Rico. Number one is the tax advantages and incentives. Let's take a look at that. For example, Puerto Rico offers tax incentives, which are a major draw for people focusing on financial benefits. So whether you're focusing on that or not, it is something definitely worth looking at. For example, residents of Puerto Rico enjoy tax advantages such as a 0%. That's right, 0. Not 1, not 2, not 5. A 0% capital gains tax on their investments and businesses, along with a significantly lower personal income tax rate. Plus, they also have exemptions on certain dividends and interest income. So this very favorable tax climate can result in substantial savings to you and your family, along with some increased financial opportunities. There's also a much lower cost of living along with affordable housing options. So when we look at the cost of living, we have to look at everything. So for example, compared with California's high cost of living, Puerto Rico offers a significant lower cost of living with things such as housing. Whether you have a mortgage or whether you're renting, the housing costs there are much cheaper. Groceries, healthcare. Those three things alone impact the quality of life each and every month for you. Now, the island's real estate market does have an array of very affordable housing options to suit different preferences and different budgets, whether you're looking to rent or buy, or whether you prefer a beachfront condominium, or you want something a little bit different like a home that is located in more of a lush type of countryside setting. Those are some of the options that are available there. Also, Puerto Rico does have a very beautiful tropical climate along with a very diverse culture. For example, in Puerto Rico, you will not have to deal with chilly winters, cold, ice, any of those things anymore because Puerto Rico enjoys a year-round tropical climate. It has breathtaking beaches. If you've ever seen some of the photography work that has been done there, appearing in magazines and over the years, they do have very beautiful beaches, lush rainforests, warm sunshine, month in and month out. So in that way, Puerto Rico does offer more of a paradise type of setting if you're an outdoor enthusiast and you like to do things outdoors or you're a nature lover. Also, Puerto Rico does have a rich cultural heritage, including Spanish, African, Taino influences, which means that you can enjoy many different types of festivals year round, and they have a very what some people describe as mouth-watering cuisine, along with a very welcoming community. I have to say, I am a picky eater, and I'm not, believe it or not, I'm not into Spanish cuisine like a lot of people are. So that would be a little bit, I guess we can get any kind of food in any country when you really get down to it today. I mean, you have, for example, Italian food, which is probably available in every country in the world, unless maybe we're looking at a third world type of country. But you know what I'm saying. You can usually get whatever type of food that you want wherever you are. But, okay, let's move on a little bit. Puerto Rico enjoys a decent economy, believe it or not. I know sometimes when people look at a smaller country, well, it's a smaller island, actually. It's part of the United States. But when you look at a smaller place like a Puerto Rico, a lot of times people focus on things like the poverty there, and they get a picture of that's what the entire place is like. But that's really not true. Whether you're living in the United States, in like California or Los Angeles, or whether you're living in New York or Florida or anywhere in between, you always have areas where there's poverty and there's people who are in need, and there's always areas where there's wealth and extravagance. So I think that it all depends on, again, what your financial situation happens to be and what you're capable of as far as mortgages, rent, and your cost of living goes. So everybody's going to be in a little bit of a different situation, but as far as the Puerto Rican economy goes, it is a rapidly growing economy, and there are various industries that are thriving there on the island. Things like finance, technology, medical, the tourism sectors, all of those things are growing. So there are, according to the statistics, still ample job opportunities awaiting people who are skilled professionals. Moreover, Puerto Rico does have a growing entrepreneurial ecosystem there as well because of thanks to the benefits, tax benefits for businesses, and that's making it an increasingly inviting destination for startup companies and ventures. So yes, moving to Puerto Rico does offer some enticing benefits, but let's talk about researching and understanding the logistics now of an international move, because moving to Puerto Rico involves international relocation logistics that differ from domestic moves. For example, you will have to research the necessary documentation, customs requirements, and any specific regulations related to importing goods as well as personal belongings. So stay informed about the things like the shipping process, transit times, and the different options that are available to you, such as air or sea freight. Now at SDC International Shipping, we're here to guide you through the entire process. This is what we do. We focus on making the international move as seamless and as stress-free, carefree as possible. We're here to help you do that. Now the requirements for relocating to Puerto Rico, again, you want to understand the residency process. You want to obtain the necessary visas and ensure compliance with immigration regulations. So it's essential to gather all of the required documents. We can walk you through and help you with that as well. You want to do it well in advance to avoid any delays or complications when you actually are making the relocation, when you're actually doing the move. Budgeting and cost considerations. Let's talk about that. Moving internationally involves expenses that go beyond the regular relocation costs, domestic relocations. So create a budget that includes things like shipping fees, customs duties, travel expenses, and any potential storage or insurance costs. Factor these things in when you're creating your budget. There are plenty of websites that you can go to that also can give you additional information about that. There are expat websites on places like Facebook where people talk about relocating from probably wherever you happen to be, if you're in California or elsewhere in the United States. And there's people who have already done it. They can also give you some insights into how much the actual costs are and things that maybe you haven't thought about. Of course, you do want to select a reliable and experienced moving company when doing this, regardless of where you're going to, because these are your personal belongings. And again, with an international move, there are more things to take into consideration. So with the assistance of a company like SDC International Shipping, you'll know that you'll have expertise and support behind you to handle whatever logistics are involved in your move, which will make the process much more manageable. Now, once you commit to actually pulling the trigger, consider the following steps to help you on your move. Number one is packing and organizing your belongings for efficient transportation. I always recommend to start by decluttering your home and sorting through your belongings. Open up all the drawers, all the cabinets, and be honest with yourself. Are there things that you probably will never look at again, or you're just hanging on to them for sentimental value or something like that? You really have to weigh the value of keeping something and paying to have it transported versus selling it or giving it to someone. In some cases, maybe the stuff is just, it's seen its day and it would be better off just being brought into the garbage or left at the curb, so to speak. So this is the time in the very beginning to determine what items you want to bring to your new home, what you can sell, what you can donate, what you can dispose of. Because from there, you're going to want to properly pack your possessions. You want to use the highest quality packing materials to ensure their safety during the transit. Or maybe you think, Jim, I'm terrible when it comes to packing, or that's just too much work for me. That's fine. SDC International Shipping offers complete packing services. We can handle everything for you. Next, we can talk about shipping options such as air or sea freight, along with their pros and cons. So by exploring the different shipping options for transporting your belongings to Puerto Rico, air freight will offer speed and efficiency, while sea freight provides a more cost-effective solution for larger shipments. So you want to consider things like the size, quantity, and value of the items to determine the most suitable shipping method. Next, you want to ensure compliance with customs regulations, any specific requirements for Puerto Rico, which means you have to familiarize yourself with their customs regulations. Everyone has different customs regulations and different requirements for importing goods into their country. Puerto Rico is no different. Even though it's part of the United States, they do have their own requirements for importing goods. So determine if any specific permits are needed, or any licenses, or any types of documentations for certain items. If you work with an experienced international moving company like us, we can help you ensure that all the customs procedures are followed correctly. Next, you have to think about taking care of your personal documentation and paperwork. So gather all the necessary personal documentation, such as passports, visas, identification documents, medical records, all of those, to ensure that you have all the important documents that you need, that everything is up to date, and that any of these items are readily accessible during your move. And it's also advisable to make copies or digital backups of any type of essential paperwork. So when you start doing these things, now you're prepared for this kind of move because you've paid attention to the detail, and your relocation experience in general is going to be much smoother. And again, if all of this seems overwhelming, remember that we here at SDC International Shipping can assist you every step of the way, providing you with comprehensive guidance and expertise to handle all of the logistics of your move. And just as an added layer, know that there are plenty of people out there who have gone through this already, and there are plenty of places online where you can meet and talk to people. I always advise, of course, if you're going to make such a relocation, I'm guessing that you've already been there before or you're already vaguely familiar with the area. I think that maybe 20-somethings aside, nobody would just decide to jump and do it without putting much thought into it. But yeah, you definitely want to check places out, see what they're like in the day, see what they're like at night, be aware of the different noises, Sometimes certain places are very loud at night, but they're very, very quiet during the day. And so that's why you want to make sure you are aware of as far as noise goes. If you're a very light sleeper, for example, and you're in a party area that comes alive after the sun goes down, that may be something you might want to be aware of before you make the move, before you sign the rent agreement or what have you. Let's talk about settling into Puerto Rico. When you start a new chapter of your life in, let's say, Puerto Rico, then think about the opportunities and experiences that await you. I mean, wherever we are, it seems like we fall into a pattern where we more or less do the same things more often than not. We eat at the same places. We have the same routines. We fall into this. When you move into a new place like Puerto Rico, then everything's going to be new. So think about this. Start with, okay, you're going to find a suitable accommodation based on your personal preferences. So when we talk about things like housing, we can be thinking about, on one hand, a nice modern apartment in a metropolitan area, or we can think about maybe like one of those charming small homes nestled in more of a picturesque setting. So that's one of the first things that you want to settle on in your mind. And then, of course, you want to make sure that your budget will match whatever it is that you are envisioning for yourself, that desired location and the lifestyle preference when you're searching for that location. But you're going to want to engage with local real estate agents and online platforms to find the perfect place that ticks all the boxes for you. And next, talking about falling into these habits of doing the same thing every day, want to take the time to adapt to the local culture and lifestyle, because it's probably much different from what you're coming from. Puerto Rico has a very vibrant and distinct culture that celebrates its heritage, so you can immerse yourself in the local community and you can enjoy the customs, the tradition, the cuisine. You can engage with locals and attend local events. You can explore the island's historical landmarks. These are all ways that you can connect in a deeper way with Puerto Rico. Every place that you go to is unique. Of course, Puerto Rico is no different. Next, you want to become aware of the local transportation system and infrastructure. When you familiarize yourself with the transportation system, you'll be able to move around the island conveniently, and maybe you'll realize that utilizing public transport options such as buses or trains are better, or maybe you want to just own a car for more flexibility. But just understand the local traffic regulations, make sure that you have the necessary documents, including, if needed, a Puerto Rican driver's license. All right, let's talk about popular attractions and activities there. Puerto Rico is, in effect, like a tropical island paradise when you look at it. When you look at the natural wonders, I guess you would call them, and all the activities you can do, from the pristine beaches like Flamenco Beach or Playa Sucia in Cabo Rojo to the national rainforest, El Yunque, which is the only rainforest within the U.S. National Forest System. You can enjoy those. Also, of course, you have the cuisine, you have water sports, outdoor adventures, historical sites, cultural festivals, and more. Now, according to expatistan.com, they report in 2023 that the cost of living in the United States is 22% more expensive than in Puerto Rico. MyLifeElsewhere.com reports that Puerto Rico is 19.6% cheaper than the United States. For example, you would pay 27.3% less for eating out at a restaurant. So it really does depend, of course, like many things in life, your location, your lifestyle, your personal expenses, and things like that. According to expat arrivals at Mercer's Cost of Living Survey for 2023, they say that San Juan ranked 44 out of 227 countries, placing it on par with large cities worldwide like Edinburgh and Barcelona. But yes, the cost of living in Puerto Rico is, on a whole, significantly lower than the U.S., but it does warn here that it is still by no means cheap, even by today's standards. So I hope that gives you more of a well-rounded view of Puerto Rico, its advantages, what it has, maybe what it doesn't, and give you something possibly more to think about if you are considering relocating in the not-too-distant future. So I think that's about it for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I have to say that this was one of my more enjoyable research projects looking into Puerto Rico, because I remember the Puerto Rico of the past. Many of the Puerto Rican friends that I've had over the years were people that left Puerto Rico in favor of more opportunity here in the mainland U.S. However, things have changed in the world in general, and in some cases they've changed for the better, and that does happen to be the case with the island of Puerto Rico. So I hope you enjoyed this. If you have, please go ahead and share the episode link with a friend. Email it to them, share it on social media, wherever you happen to be. So thanks for listening, and I will see you again next week in next week's episode.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Thanks for listening. Whether you're relocating within the country or moving to the other side of the world, we're here to help from start to finish. Connect with us today at 888-779-3962. That's 888-779-3962.